talking with the MD of a very successful firm the other day. We were networking together. And she was going through quite a tough time, and she was explaining to me that one of the leaders had left and some of the key staff, and she was feeling very low, and she was struggling to work out her voice for the company and the messages that she wanted to give people. And we talked a bit more, and we got sidetracked, as you do. We were chatting, and she started telling me and got really quite excited and animated about her stepson and how he was involved with the local junior rugby club, and her firm had decided to sponsor the cup that they were holding in the town for the children who played rugby. And I said, that's really interesting, tell me more about that. And she said she found that she started to look more at rugby and how she enjoyed it, how she enjoyed the passion, the transparency, the respect that the children had for the coaches for the children, and the extra mile that the community was going for the teams and how they put together this cup, and that's why they were sponsoring them. And I said that was really interesting because all the messages that she was potentially looking for in her business, I just heard her say. Everything she wanted to convey about how she did business was in everything she was talking about, her excitement around what she liked about the rugby. And I knew that that aligned with everything in her business. And when I explained that to her, it was like a weight had lifted off her shoulders. And the other thing that was interesting was the light bulb moment for her of the reciprocated generosity from the community back to her business. So, my name is Jacky, and I am a copywriter. And I'm so far out my comfort zone, you wouldn't believe it, standing on this stage. I'm normally sitting at my desk, looking at my screen, and my job is a lot of listening. I sit and listen quietly to my clients, to organizations and businesses, and I take their ideas, their ambition, and their inspiration, and I turn it into words that speak for and about them, that will help them influence, engage, and build trust. And that's a really key thing, because a lot of my work is around content marketing. And content marketing involves organizations and individuals delivering valuable information, timely information, information that will inform people and inspire people, and help them to make buying decisions. So obviously I think a lot around giving to get. But get is a bit too much of a tempting distraction. Certainly for a lot of people, they tend to focus on that. But my focus is always on the give, the generosity behind content marketing, the generosity behind sharing, and it's really, really important. Purely unselfish acts of open-handedness have a huge impact for individuals and organizations, and they can really make a big impact on their success. So I think it's really important also to think about how as a species we're hardwired to be generous. Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest notwithstanding, we are hardwired to be generous. We're hardwired to support each other. Without supporting each other, we wouldn't survive. We wouldn't thrive. We come together as tribes and communities, and the generosity and the support that we can show for each other gives us purpose. It helps us thrive together. It helps us be successful. And scientists also tell us that something in our brains, something quite interesting, happens when we're on the end of a receiving act, or we are indeed generous. We get a sense of well-being, an emotion of pleasure, the same as if we were eating a chocolate bar we liked, or we were flirting or heard our favourite song. And that sense of emotion is really important. Studies in Harvard at the moment are around social contagion of generosity and how it's catching, how one generous act begets another. The same is very true of a selfish act as well. And working on the fact that we get this emotion, we get this well-being from generosity, it leads us on to decision-making and how important that is. In our brains, the centre that takes decisions is in the amygdala, in the limbic system. And it's the same part of the brain that governs our emotions. So no decision we ever make can ever be totally objective. It's always going to be influenced by our experiences in the past, our present situation, and also our future anxiety. So the hundreds of decisions we make every day, they're always bound up with how we're feeling. So as you can imagine, when we're feeling that good sense of well-being through generosity, decision-making comes into that, and our emotions, and in terms of content marketing and giving to get, we're already partway through that decision process. Some people also have said to me, why would I give away my skills? Why would I give away my hard-fought-for experience? I've worked a long time, I'm not just going to give it away. Some people definitely see it as a weed in their beautifully manicured garden of success. But I'm not talking about giving away patents or some key IP. I'm talking about an intelligent sharing, a connecting with people, for people, a sharing of our experience and our know-how that will support others' endeavours, and how that can play back with us, and how that has a huge impact on our own success. So generosity fosters engagement, trust, loyalty, and it's really, really good for results. It's good for recognition, and it's good for revenue. And people also say content marketing, is it a buzzword? Is it something new that I should hear of? But it's not new at all. It's a very ancient wisdom. The first customer publication, it was reckoned, came out in 1895, and this was a pamphlet. And this particular company, some bright sparks, decided if we give all the farmers who we work with a pamphlet that helps them improve the soil, helps them rotate their crops, they'll get more profit, their families will have a better lifestyle, they'll be able to reinvest in the farm, and when they come to buy new equipment, they're going to go to that agricultural manufacturer who's giving them the information, who's supporting them. And that manufacturer was John Deere. The pamphlet was called The Furrow. Now, John Deere today is one of the top agricultural machinery manufacturers. They employ 67,000 people all around the world. And the pamphlet that became a magazine, The Furrow, is in 27 different countries, and it's translated into 14 different languages. And it's in print still, and it's online, which is really important. But it's in terms of what we're talking about with generosity and business and how they work together, it's not just about profit. Profit is important. It's extremely important. It helps businesses invest. It helps businesses train new employees, develop new product. It's extremely important. But without the power of generosity, what it cannot create is sustainability. And sustainability is what will support that business, that organisation, when times get rough and things get rocky. Because what they have through sustainability is trust and engagement with an audience, whether they be buyers or customers or suppliers, that will support them, that are loyal and they're brand ambassadors for them. So, touching back to The Furrow and how it's now online, and it used to just be in print, it brings us back probably to one of the most generous acts, possibly, arguably, in the 20th century, and one which has allowed me to work how I do. We talked about Google and all the different ways of connecting and the internet and the platforms, and that was Tim Berners-Lee. He gave us the World Wide Web, royalty-free technology for the people. hugely generous act that has spawned billions and billions of other generous acts. Certainly all sorts of different innovations and jobs and the technology that is now moving so fast. And we touched on this morning talking about the digital natives, the young people that are growing up with this technology, with the internet, and how they share and how they are generous with what they do, and how they also look around at peer reviews and the generosity of other people and how they're sharing and how they're finding content. And that's hugely important, and that's just going to get more interesting and more complex as time goes on. But the basic tenet about generosity and sharing underlines all this. And again, for the smart people, it's not just survival, it's about thriving. So I wanted just to look at a few examples of how businesses, individuals, are using the power of generosity and what it's done for them. So, Ikea, global business, extremely successful, still family owned. They, you would imagine, they have a mission statement, and you might think it would be, we want to furnish the world, or something like that. But it's not. Their mission statement is creating a better everyday life for the many people. That's the mission of their business as they see it. They have a very smart idea, a business idea to support that. They create very good looking flat pack furniture at very affordable prices that's very popular. But that's the business proposition. Their mission statement is about helping and supporting people. It's about engaging with communities, and they do this very well. And they do this on a global scale through charitable foundations, through the 6 wind farms they have around the world, because they're also working in renewable energy and recycling, because they understand that to embed themselves in a community, to support and be generous with that community, that's what's going to keep them sustainable. And it's not just sustainability, because at that point you move into something called social relevance. You are relevant to that community, you are relevant to the science around renewable technology and how you can help impact on it and use it. On an individual level, social relevance we'll find in all sorts of places. Through the internet, as I've said, there's so many different ways in which we personally, individually and uniquely can share to support our aspirations and our businesses. Derek Sivers was a clown and an independent musician, and in 1997 he was sitting in his bedroom in California, and he wanted to find a way to create an income for himself, to get his music heard. So in his bedroom he made a website, created a website, and he called it CD Baby, and he started selling his music. And his friends, who were also independent musicians, saw it and they wanted to join in. 10 years later on, CD Baby has had over $100 million worth of sales and has supported over 150,000 independent musicians and was worth an estimated $22 million. But Derek did this because he understood independent musicians, and he worked on several principles, which included listening to every CD that came to him. He would pay his musicians every single week, and no musician would ever be taken off or delisted because they hadn't sold enough. He really understood how that community worked and what support they needed. And because of that, and because of his support for them, he created this amazing business. He actually bequeathed it to a music charitable trust, and he's gone on to help entrepreneurs all over the world, and he does do amazing TED Talks, and I'd really recommend them if you ever want to find out about Derek. Closer to home now, in Leeds, about the same time Derek was selling CD Baby and giving it to the charitable trust, there were 4 entrepreneurs who had an idea. They wanted to bring enterprise and business and support a community in one of the most dispossessed in the UK, in Hare Hills in Leeds. They found an old derelict school, big, great pile, and they decided, we have this idea, we want to do it up. And what was interesting is they put social relevance at the heart of their business model right from the get-go. And that building's called Shine. And it's an extremely wonderful example of how putting social relevance at the heart of what you do can really have an impact on your success. Today, they started Shine in 2007. Today they're one of certainly the most iconic, and they're certainly one of the leading spaces in Leeds for conferences, meetings and training rooms. And that was the business proposition. But around that they've built a community engagement whereby they have an ex-offenders program working in the catering section. They have an art gallery for local painters and artists to come in. And they also have people banging on their door like NHS, Aviva, British Gas, Google, Microsoft. These people want to come and share in this space, learn how Shine are doing things, and be part of it. And the community is transforming as a result. And Shine are almost up to capacity. In fact, one of the founders is here today, Todd. He's in the audience somewhere. It's an amazing space. So, I think in my job, certainly, when I work with clients and look at how they're approaching what they do and how they do it, it's a double-edged sword. It comes back to understanding very clearly the audience they're speaking to, and then being generous and sharing intelligently and uniquely with them. I think to be first in the minds of the people that matter most to us, we have to be courageous. We have to be the good guy and be in it for the long term. It's our generosity and our humanity, as well as our determination and our skill and our ambition, that really will mean whether we flourish or we fail. In the very act of our generosity, we sow the seeds of our own success. Thank you.